Welcome back to my channel, Lila Wanders and Reads. Lee here, and welcome to my weekend books. This week has been all about, well, mostly about anticipation for the Booker Prize long list. I just discovered the Booker Prize a couple years ago from watching YouTube, and last year I read about half the long list, which is 13 books, and I found that it stretched me as a reader, and I really, while I didn't love every book that I read, like I said, it stretched me. There were some books I really loved, some books I just liked, and one book I couldn't even finish because it was just not for me. But this year I decided to do that again. Now, if you don't know, the Booker Prize is a literary award. I think it's based out of the UK. And it is conferred each year for the best single work of sustained fiction, which is novel, not short stories, written in the English language or a novella, and published in the UK or Ireland. And so the winner gets like £50,000, and that's huge. Plus, even if you're on the long list, the amount of publicity the author gets is insane, which insane in a good way because it sells them books. So I started this week reading a book that another YouTuber has said they thought would win the Booker Prize. Turns out that book didn't even make the long list, and I'm a little bit surprised, although I struggled with it. And then on Tuesday, the long list was announced. I will publish a video about what I have right now, I think on Wednesday, I believe. But let's get on with the weekend books. The first book is the Book of Records by Madeline Teen. And this is one that the other YouTubers said they thought would win, but it didn't even make the long list. Let me tell you what it's about. I struggled with parts of this book, but I did learn something from a history standpoint, and I appreciated it even though it was difficult for me. Again, this is an example of how I feel stretched as a reader. This is not a thriller. This is not genre fiction that I could fly through. It took me, I had to sit with it and think about it and figure out what was going on. Lena and her father arrive at an enclave called the Sea, a staging post between migrations with only a few possessions. In this mysterious and shape-shifting place, a building made of time, past and futures collide. Lena befriends her neighbors, and I'm going to tell you who they really are. It's not a secret. Bento, a Jewish scholar in 17th century Amsterdam. Bento was... Damn it, now I lost my place. God damn, sorry dudes. Okay, Bento is Baruch Spinoza. These characters are also books, main characters in 3 nonfiction books that her father brought with him when they left. Next up is Blücher, a philosopher in 1930s Germany fleeing from Nazi persecution. That's Hannah Arendt. I supplemented this with watching some documentaries about World War II, particularly the Eichmann trial, which Hannah Arendt was there for. And then Jupiter, a poet of Tang Dynasty, China. That is a character named Bufu, who I have... Dufu? Is it Dufu? Is it Bufu? Damn, I lost my place again. Sorry, y'all. It's Dufu. Yeah, Dufu, a poet I'd never heard of. Memory, political revolution, generational change, and the ethical imagination are at the heart of Lena's illuminating conversations with her fellows in the sea. How we come to believe what we believe, and how every person is an irreplaceable, unique vessel of history. Through the guidance of these great thinkers, Lena equips herself to reckon with difficult questions of guilt, responsibility, and the possibility of redemption when her ailing father begins to reveal his role in their family's tragic past. Look, like I said, I struggled with this. A lot of this philosophy went over my head. It reminded me a little bit of Sophie's World by, I forgot the author's name, but this was not quite inaccessible to me, but I had a hard time accessing it. So I appreciated the read. it just was a little over my head. And I did get caught up in the stories, in Baruch's story, and Hannah Arendt's stories, even Dufu's stories. I got caught up in them. I think the philosophy was just too much for me. Now, I have already said when it comes to the Booker books, I'm going to pepper them with very light, not having to think stories. I don't want to go Booker to Booker to Booker, even though this didn't make the long list. I didn't know this at the time. But I followed this up with a rom-com called Made for Each Other by Lynn Painter. Lynn Painter also wrote Happily Never After, which I read and enjoyed last year. This was, I think, less spicy, and it was okay. It was just okay. I liked it. I had a good time with it. It did what I wanted. It cleansed the palate after that very hard read. But if you're a rom-com reader, I recommend it. As a professional cleaner, Abby Mariano never thought her apartment would have any sort of infestation. But because of a building-wide outbreak, she now needs somewhere to stay for a week. As a part-time student with 2 jobs, she doesn't have many options. Then, a solution presents itself. The owner of a penthouse she cleans is out of town for the week. She normally wouldn't consider it, but he's literally never around. She hasn't even met him. It all goes well until one morning she finds... This is my pet peeve about blurbs. It doesn't start out with her making the decision to go to stay in his condo or whatever, and it doesn't go well until one morning. It starts on that one morning. She's coming out of his room, and his parents are there. They seem to think they've heard all about Abby, not as their son's maid, but as his girlfriend. Declan Powell has always put his career first, working his way up to become an executive at his company, but he still has his sights set on the next level. When his parents mention they have met his girlfriend, Abby, he all but chokes on his escargot. He wasn't eating escargot. It was fucking breakfast time. I hate this. Like, it's a cute blurb, but it's not accurate. It's not even a good metaphor. As wonderful as it is to hear that she was just darling, he doesn't actually have a girlfriend. He made her up to get everybody off his back. When Dex finds out who Abby really is, he makes her a proposition. Dun dun dun, fake dating. Pretend to date him, and he'll provide everything she needs during their little arrangement. What harm could it do? It's purely business, not pleasure, right? Can't speak. Okay. So I kind of fucked this up in my short that will air in a few weeks, so I want to make sure I get this right. The next book, that's not, I'm getting my shit together, folks. Okay, I'm going to read this definition verbatim, and I'm going to put my glasses on to do it. So, after I finished Made for Each Other, the Booker long list was announced. All 13 books. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them, and I think 3 or 4 on the way. Anyway, that's not the point. So, I decided for now to read them from shortest to longest, and the shortest was Universality by Natasha Brown. Now, this does not have the greatest reviews on Goodreads. It's like 3 point something. And, like, come on, we're all a little bit snobby and think that a 3 point isn't going to be as good. But when I rate a book 3, it's good. So, but I went into this, I wanted to come into each of these books open, ready to receive, even if it didn't like it. So, Universality is a satire, and I had to refresh my memory on what a satire is. It's a form of fiction in which vices, follies, abuses, and shortcomings are held up to ridicule, often with the intent of exposing or shaming the perceived flaws of individuals, corporations, government, or society itself into improvement. One of the most famous satires is A Modest Proposal by Jonathan Swift, where he is criticizing the government for letting the Irish starve by proposing that the Irish just eat their children. It's been a long time. That was a very gist summary of that. In Universality, which I ended up actually really enjoying, late one night on a Yorkshire farm, in the midst of an illegal rave, a young man is nearly bludgeoned to death with a solid gold bar. It is illegal because it's in the middle of the pandemic, and a lot of people had said too soon, because there's a lot in here that talks about the pandemic and the worst parts of it, and so I can accept that as an answer for why it wasn't for them. An ambitious young journalist sets out to uncover the truth surrounding the attack, connecting the dots between an amoral banker landlord, say that 20 times fast, an iconoclastic newspaper columnist, and a radical anarchist movement that has taken up residence on the farm. She solves the mystery, but her viral expose raises more questions than it answers. Through a voyeuristic lens and with the simmering power, Universality focuses on words, what we say, how we say it, and what we really mean. I really enjoyed this. It is okay. This is the saddle. So it's told in several parts. The first is an article. The second is a part called Edmonton, which is about the article's author and her perspective. The third is Weybridge, was about that rich dude, and then that was Weybridge. Then it's Cartmel and Showtime, which is about Lenny. So Lenny, and this is the satire that I found hilarious. So Lenny has written a book called No Mo Woke. Problem is, Lenny reflects, the book just didn't sell. Apparently, the people who weren't embarrassed to place No Mo Woke on their shelves didn't, by and large, actually have bookcases. And then she goes on and she says the title was genius. It had maximized upset and grievance, but was impossible to criticize without coming off as, well, woke. So I loved this book. I appreciate it more now than I did when I first read it, because it's had time to sink in. Really enjoyed this. It's very short. It's 100 and some odd pages. I feel like this is exactly what I was looking for, 152 pages, when it came to the Booker Prize, is something that would push me out of my comfort zone and stretch me. Like your muscles need to be stretched. Sometimes my brain does as well. So, finally, I forgot to bring my purse book and I've got my audiobook here. But anyway, finally, I went with another palette cleanser, and oh boy, it was a miss for me. And this is shocking. It is Kristin Hannah's Comfort and Joy. I love Kristin Hannah's writing. In fact, what I appreciated about this is this was copyright 2005. I believe. So reading her more recent books first, and then going back to this, I can see how much she's grown as a writer in the past 19-20 years. So really could appreciate that, but this one was not for me. It was just over the top. I'm gonna butcher the blurb on the back, because this one had a trope that I see rarely, but I have seen before, that pisses me off beyond belief. Joe Candelaro once loved Christmas more than any other time of the year. But then she came home and found her husband fucking her sister. And now she's divorced and alone for the holidays. And, spoiler alert, it's the last day of the year. She goes to get, or last day before the holidays, she goes to get a tree. She comes back home. Her sister's in her driveway saying, "Oh, we have to talk." And reveals that she's pregnant and hands her a fucking wedding invitation. It's been barely a year since she walked in and found them fucking. So, it's been like 9 months. So no, ma'am, I don't want your fucking wedding invitation. Get the fuck out of my driveway. I'm not sorry. If my sister fucks my husband, we are done as sisters. Husband can go too, but that's not the important part. That's the ultimate fucking betrayal. It makes me livid. But of course, at the end, it's all forgiveness and light. Now, fuck that. Fuck that. I think I rated this 2 stars because of that. I get it, sisters, blah, 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 but that's the ultimate betrayal. Period. Unforgivable. There's a lot of things. Sisters fight. I know. I have one. And there are a lot of things that you forgive and forget over. Like, I had cut my sister off something about some spat that we had, and then my dad died, and so naturally we forgot about it all. But if my sister fucked my husband, no forgiveness. And vice versa. I'm sure she wouldn't forgive me either. That is the point of this whole thing. So, she runs away from the house in her car, goes to the airport, gets on a plane to nowhere, and the plane crashes. Then she goes into some sort of dream state, which I figured this out really early on. And she meets this man and a boy, and she falls in love with them, like, instant-fucking-taneously. I can't go on. I think this might be a 1 star for me. And then, of course, naturally, at the end, everything's happily ever after. No, not for me, because I would not forgive that bitch of a sister for fucking my husband in my own goddamn bed. Sorry. Okay. I'm not going to go call my sister and yell at her because she didn't actually do that. That was in this book. It's a huge pet peeve of mine. Okay. I made a little bit of progress on Berlin Diary, which is my purse book, this week, but not as much as I'd hoped because I got excited about the Booker long list. And I am making progress. Actually paused this to, I don't know where I am in here. I paused this, we'll just say here. I paused the Third Reich at War to make this video so it wouldn't be playing in the background. But I'm listening to this probably I've got about 15 hours left, and highly recommend it if you have any interest in the Third Reich at all. I'm a history buff, so I loved it. Anywho, that is it for me. Sorry for the rant about sister fucking, husband fucking sisters, but whatever. Anywho, as always, if you've made it this far, thank you for sticking with me on my journey, and happy reading.